What's going on, Imperials? It's Emperor Cubone here. While there's certainly a lot to love about the more common Pokémon, there's just something special about Legendaries. Grabbing that fabled creature you've heard tall tales about makes you feel accomplished as a trainer, and lets you put it right in the box beside all of the other ones that you've nabbed up. But where are these majestic and powerful beings located? Well, for your convenience, we'll be going through each generation to find out. However, as I was making this, we were breaching 10 pages, and I wasn't even on the 3DS yet. So I'll be splitting this up a bit, and only discussing the first 4 generations in this video, with the rest to follow. And for the purposes of this list, we will be counting mythicals as well, because... come on guys, they're the same thing. Literally the only major differences are the methods of obtaining them, which we'll delve into. But I just get sick of people trying to go out of their way to correct everyone by saying that mythicals are in fact separate in their own subcategory of legendaries. Well, guess what? That means that they're still in a category of legendaries. People say I'm nitpicky. Sheesh. So, starting with Generation 1, the original Red and Blue had the legendary birds. Articuno, my favorite of the 3, could be found in the depths of the Seafoam Islands, after completing a strength puzzle to alter the currents. Next, Zapdos can be caught outside of the power plant on Route 10. And while you're on your way to the Elite Four and Victory Road, you'll probably stumble across Moltres. So hopefully you won't be too worn down to face it. Past that trio, there is the genetically superpowered creation Mewtwo. This legendary can be found after becoming the champion in Cerulean Cave. Just traversing this dark cave full of tough Pokémon is a test by itself, so be prepared for a rough fight. In the original games, sometimes Pokéballs will miss if they weren't going to catch the stronger Pokémon anyway, so at least it cuts down on some time and lets you know immediately that you will get it once it starts shaking. And of course, Mew can be found under the truck. No, not really. But there are a number of glitches within the games that allow you to run into Mew. My personal favorite that I've used is the one involving the Cerulean City Gym. However, none of these are considered legitimate. The only real way to get a Mew was to be fortunate enough to attend a real-life Nintendo event where they would give out the elusive creature. And all of these methods that have been mentioned hold over for Yellow version as well. Now for Generation 2, we'll start with the legendary beasts. And actually, in Gold and Silver, all 3 of these Pokémon are roaming legendaries, meaning they will appear at random in the wild after being released from the burned tower in Ecruteak City. They will run away after the first move of any encounter, so either attack non-lethally, or inflict a status condition, so that the next time it'll be that much easier to actually catch. But as for the box art Pokémon, Lugia can be found in the Whirl Islands, requiring a decent showing of 8 gems to access. You can only awaken Lugia after receiving the Silver Wing, which you'll get after beating Team Rocket at the Radio Tower in its mascot game. The same is true for Ho-Oh and the Rainbow Wing in its game, but Ho-Oh can be found at the top of the Tin Tower in Ecruteak City. Generation 2 also did something intriguing, where you could actually catch the other mascot Pokémon in the alternate versions of the game, but only after you had visited Kanto and received the opposite colored wing. Now, Crystal version was largely the same, except, obviously, for Suicune. This time, after beating Team Rocket, you'll be given the Clear Bell, and once you've seen Suicune a couple of times around the region near some watery spots, you can face it at the base of the Tin Tower. The birds can both still be acquired here, but only after Kanto, getting the wing from the same man in Pewter City for Lugia, and also showing you seen all 3 of the legendary beasts for Ho-Oh. There was also the GS Ball, that would trigger Celebi in the game. The GS Ball was only obtainable through events, or connecting to a cell phone after beating all 16 gyms and completing some tests or something, and it wasn't even available in the United States. But if you were lucky enough to get it, you could show the GS Ball to Kurt, and after he examines it, you'll take it to the shrine in Ilex Forest, and that's when Celebi will appear. Phew. At least they just give it to you outright in the Virtual Console. Generation 3 introduced almost as many legendaries as the previous 2 generations combined. But starting with the boxes, it's actually pretty easy since the story funnels you right into the Cave of Origin in Sootopolis, where you'll be able to face either Kyogre or Groudon in their various versions. Next, if you want their third counterpart, Rayquaza, you'll go to Route 131 and head to Sky Pillar. There, after several floors of an infuriating pinpoint bike puzzle, you can battle and capture the Dragon-type legendary. After you've become the champion, of course. But even before that, once you've beaten the Elite Four for the first time and return home, your mother will tell you about a TV report on the Lati twins, which are now released into the wild. They are roaming Pokémon, so you never know when you might see these prone-to-fleeing psychic legends. You have Latios in Ruby and Latias in Sapphire. However, you could get the other one if you were able to snag the Eon Ticket item that would take you to the Southern Island. But again, this is one that was only obtainable through real-life means. Let's see, I think that's just about everybody. Oh, crap. The Regis. Okay, strap in because this is ridiculous. First, you need a Relicanth and a Wailord, as well as access to Dig, Surf, and Dive. Go to Route 134 and traverse the water current maze to the dive spot. Once you enter the cave with all of the Braille carvings, go to the writings on the wall and use Dig. This triggers openings around the region for these ancient golems. Regirock is suitably at the bottom of the desert on Route 111. You might have noticed these formations before, but there will now be an opening containing the Rock-type legendary. Go inside, read the text, go right twice, down twice, and then use Strength. You see? This is nonsense. Similarly, Regice is in a cave on the far left of the water Route 105. Go in, read the text, and do literally nothing for 2 minutes. Seriously, don't even move. And the door will open and let you catch this giant popsicle. Lastly, go to the end of Route 120, go in the cave and read the text, go to the middle of the room and use Fly. Then you can finally get Registeel. Don't ask me why it's so hard to track down these specific legendaries. Better Poketubers than me have tried in vain to find such a reason. How exactly were kids supposed to figure this out before widespread usage of the internet? Anyway, Emerald version changed a few things, namely Rayquaza requiring multiple visits. You go to encounter the sky-high Pokémon, only for it to fly away. If you follow it to Sootopolis City, you can see it break up a fight between Groudon and Kyogre. Then go back to Sky Pillar again and you can actually catch it this time. You can also catch the other 2 box art Pokémon after you've become the champion, in the Marine Cave and the Terra Cave. Talking to the Weather Institute owner will give you a location on these caves, but be quick about it, since apparently they move around, wandering between 4 different spots on the map. Latios and Latias are different as well, since now when you watch the TV report, your mom will ask you the color of the beast that they described. Choosing red or blue will let you pick which one you'd prefer, and then that one will be let loose to roam free in the wild just like before. And for some stupid reason, the Regis were changed, but still just as convoluted. So this time, put Wailord first in your party and Relicanth last, use Dig, and read the sign a second time and the tombs will open. All of them are in the same locations. But for Regirock, go 2 steps left, 2 steps down, and use Rock Smash. For Regice, do a lap around the entire outer edge of the wall in a clockwise fashion. And for Registeel, go to the middle of the room and use Flash. As if they weren't hard enough to remember before. There were also a number of events that you could do that would give you in-game items. The Mystic Ticket would take you to Naval Rock, where you could find Ho-Oh at the top and Lugia way down at the bottom. There was also the Aurora Ticket that took you to Birth Island, allowing you to catch Deoxys. And of course, a very special map would get you to Faraway Island, where you could catch Mew once again. There were also various real-life distributions of Jirachi, being the only way to receive that Pokémon. But of course, Generation 3 also introduced remakes into the franchise with Fire Red and Leaf Green. Now some things do change, but lots of them do not. For Kanto, it's all pretty much the same. Articuno is in the Seafoam Islands and Zapdos is at the power plant. Except Moltres can now be found on Mount Ember in the Sevi Islands, which was a shock I was not prepared for stumbling across it my first time playing. And of course Mewtwo is still in Cerulean Cave. In these Gen 3 games, you could also find the legendary beasts roaming around the Kanto region. Well, one of them, anyway. You could only get one per game, and it was determined by which of the starters you had picked. Whichever legendary your starter was weak to was the one that would appear in the game. You guys remember back when Pokémon was intentionally difficult? And likewise, there were events to travel to Naval Rock and Birth Island to get those special hidden legendaries as well. Next, we jump to the DS with Generation 4. Starting with the mascots, Dialga and Palkia can be found when you climb all the way to the top of Mount Coronet to foil Team Galactic's plan. You obviously can only get Dialga in Diamond and Palkia in Pearl. After this, you can venture out to capture the Lake Trio. The Knowledge Pokémon Uxie will be at Lake Acuity, up by Snow Point City. And the Willpower Pokémon Azelf will be at Lake Valor, over in the southeast corner of the map. You can immediately battle and capture these two. The Emotion Pokémon Mesprit is a little different. Going to Lake Verity by your hometown, you can encounter Mesprit, but it will run off, becoming a roaming Pokémon to be encountered at random, but you can track its current location with the Pokétch on the bottom screen. The same is true of Cresselia. After obtaining the National Dex, this lunar Pokémon can be found after conversing with a sailor in Canalave City to take you to Full Moon Island. But once you find it, Cresselia will also fly off and roam around randomly for you to stumble upon and capture. Now for the third Pokémon in the lead trio, Giratina. If you go from Route 214 through the Spring Path to the Sendoff Spring, you can access Turnback Cave. It is implied that this location is the meeting place of the Distortion World and our own. Once inside, you have to go through 3 rooms with pillars in the center. But the rooms that appear are seemingly random, and you have to do so before you go through 30 rooms. If you meet these conditions, you can finally face the Renegade Pokémon. Next is the Lava Dome Pokémon Heatran. This legendary Pokémon is found in Stark Mountain, located off of Route 227 on the northeastern island. However, this Fire-Steel type is only there the second time that you go. The first time you go, Buck will take the Magma Stone, and once you talk to him, his grandfather will convince him to return it, and then you can go back to face Heatran. There's also the colossal Pokémon Regigigas. You can find this Pokémon under the temple in Snow Point City. But just going there isn't enough, since this Pokémon will remain sleeping. The only way to awaken it is to transfer up all of the other Regis and bring them to their master. Then Regigigas will attack and you can catch it. One that's very different is Manaphy. This one actually involved Pokémon Ranger, where you would get a special egg that you could transfer to the main series games. And once it hatches, you can get this powerful water type. And of course, if you breed Manaphy with a Ditto, it will produce a Phione. That's pretty much it. It's just a worse Manaphy. You really only need it to fill out the Dex. The rest are more event Pokémon, starting with Darkrai. After an event gives you the Membership Pass, you can go to Canalave City and take a nap. There, Darkrai will disturb your dreams and you can then find its location. Talk to the same sailor that took you to see Cresselia, and this time he will take you to New Moon Island. There you can battle and capture this nightmare of a Pokémon. Shaman is another event exclusive with Oak's Letter. If you take this item to the previously useless rock at the end of nowhere on Route 224, it will open up the Sea Break Path, a very long path to the Flower Paradise. There you can find Shaman. And there was of course an in-game event planned for Arceus, but for whatever reason, they never bothered activating it, distributing Arceus through other means. Since apparently they thought it would be too complicated, even though that's never really been a problem before. Platinum had many things that were similar, but a major difference was, of course, Giratina, actually being in the Distortion World this time. After you traverse this twisted dimension, you can battle the origin form of this legendary dragon. You can still get the other two mascots, you just have to talk to Cynthia's grandmother in Celestic Town, and find the adamant and lustrous orbs in Mount Coronet, and return them to Spear Pillar, so that you can then find Dialga and Palkia once again. Now, Heatran is in the same place and all, but this time there will be different scenes that play out beforehand, involving Looker and members of Team Galactic. But you are still required to leave and come back in order to catch it. One that I didn't even really know about was that the legendary birds can be found in Platinum as well. After obtaining the National Dex, if you talk to Professor Oak in Eterna City, he will tell you how they can now be found in Sinnoh. This causes the birds to be released as roaming Pokémon with random encounters. Also, if you got a specific Regigigas from a movie event, you could take it to certain caves and collect the Regi Trio from around the region. You just step on all of the buttons made into their eye patterns, which is cake compared to the other ways that you get them. And Platinum also gave us the potential Sky form for the event Pokemon Shaman as well. Now for Heart Gold and Soul Silver, these Johto remakes pack in a lot of extras, but the mascots are still in the same places, with both of them still being obtainable in both of the games. The first two legendary beasts are still roaming legendaries, but one of the only real differences is Suicune, where once released, you'll run into it in various watery spots across the land, like in Crystal, but you end up being able to battle it at the end of Route 25, where you clearly broke up Misty's date earlier. Articuno and Zapdos are in their same locations of the Seafoam Islands and the power plant, but the third legendary bird, Moltres, is different, since the Sevi Islands don't exist in this generation. So now the giant Firebird is inside Mount Silver, off to the left. But all of the birds can only be found after earning all of the badges. And of course Mewtwo is still in Cerulean Cave. But there are many brand new legendaries in these remakes as well. Groudon and Kyogre can now be found in the Johto region, inside the embedded tower, down at the bottom of Route 47, below the Safari Zone. You can only get them after talking to Mr. Pokemon to get the red or blue orb. But you can only get those after getting one of the Kanto starters from Professor Oak. But you can only get one of those after defeating Red. So this is some severe post-game content we're talking about here. They're split up between the versions though, so you can only get Kyogre in Heart Gold, and Groudon is only in Soul Silver. However, you're going to want to trade to get both of them, since you'll need them to get Rayquaza in these games. Rayquaza is also found in the same embedded tower, after you get the Jade Orb. But this item is tricky, since you have to show Professor Oak both Groudon and Kyogre, but it only works if it's those Pokemon from Gen 4. Any Gen 3 ones transferred up won't cut it, but if you can convince your friend it's only alone, you can both get a lovely Rayquaza. Along with the roaming beasts returning, there's also Latios and Latias, who once again are version exclusives. After the National Dex, you'll talk to Steven outside the Pokemon Fan Club, and he'll tell you how these two are roaming around in Kanto. Latias is in Heart Gold and Latios is in Soul Silver. However, there also was an event that gave out the Enigma Stone, where once taken to the Pewter City Museum, you could unlock the opposite exclusive for your version. And there was another event with Arceus. If you use this special movie event Arceus, it will transport you to the Sinjo Ruins, where you'll be able to meet Cynthia. Here, Arceus will use the power of the unknown to give birth to one of the Creation Trio, Dialga, Palkia, or Giratina. And you get to decide which one it is. I personally chose Palkia, since at the time I had only played through Diamond and already had the other two. And finally, if you got the event Celebi released just before Black and White came out, and you took it to the shrine in Ilex Forest, you could engage in the incredibly well-done time travel side quest. There, Celebi will not only help you understand your rival better, but will also take you to fight Giovanni to stop him from returning to Team Rocket at the radio tower that your past self is fighting through right now. Meaning that your future self was the reason all along Giovanni didn't return. Now that is how you do some awesome lore right there. So, those are the locations and ways to get all of the legendaries in the games in generations 1 through 4. What are your favorite ways to get a legendary? Let me know down in the comments. Also be sure to leave a like, share this video, and subscribe so that you too can become an Imperial today. And we'll see you around next time!